At the heart of any effort to improve a process or operation is an understanding of variation. Actually, reducing variation is usually the path to improvement. However, we quite often do not understand variation. I, for instance, went to a couple of different mills over in Georgia a number of years ago, and there were two very different types of mill. One was a rolling ball mill, and the other one was, well, it looked like a big cement mixer. It was water and calcium carbonate were loaded into the mill, and then it just tumbled the rocks over and over again, and the fluid, the effluent, contained a ground up calcium carbonate. At both of those mills, the people operating it, when I asked something about variation, they said, well, there is no variation in this mill. The output is always the same. Well, that's only true if you just don't measure closely enough. There is variation in everything. We actually measure variation in two different ways. One is through variable data, and the other is attribute data. Attribute data is like a good, bad, yes, no, on, off, digital sort of data, defective, not defective. Variable data is any physical characteristic, and so the height and width and weight and atmospheric pressure and temperature and relative humidity and on and on and on, and centipoise and slump, and it seems like every industry has their own measures. One of my favorites is BRIX, B-R-I-X, which is a measure of sugar content if you're making beverages. So everybody has measures. Have you ever heard that expression, there's no two snowflakes alike? I've heard that expression all my life, and which was amazing to me, because when you go out on a snowy day and there's a lot of snow, and I've lived in Colorado and Wyoming, I have seen snow. It's the idea that there's not just two somewhere out there that are alike is sort of mind-boggling. But I came to accept that, and then one day I read an article, a journal article, about this researcher who had found two identical snowflakes, and of course that just offended me. It upset my sense of the way the world is. And so I read the article, and I have to say I was not in a receptive mood as I read the article, and I was about halfway through the article, and of course this was a manufactured snowflake. This was a laboratory creation. About halfway through the article, the researcher wrote, "The larger of the two snowflakes," and that's when I stopped reading. Once again, my faith in the world and how things are was restored. There are, in fact, no two identical snowflakes. Well, understanding variation, being able to analyze variation, gets back to our concept of measures. Are we using the right measures? Are we using the right resolution of measures? Do we have the right repeatability of our measurement system? Or is our measurement system actually introducing error into the equation? Understanding variation is at the heart of improvement. Now, in Dr. Welburn's class, you've already at least been introduced to a number of quality tools, and really the goal of all of the tools is to, in some way or another, help us to reduce variation, understand variation, and reduce it. We're not going to go back over all of the tools of reducing variation, but we are going to talk about just a couple of things. And one of the tools that I've zeroed in on, if you haven't already figured this out, is the cause and effect diagram, which I think is a very powerful tool for most folks. Certainly the concept, if you want a whole package, Six Sigma is a great package of tools, one of the best packages out there, and you could use that. But let's be thinking in terms of variation when we look at our processes. What is an acceptable level of variation? How do we measure variation? And are we measuring improvement over time? Can we document that we are actually getting better? Thanks.